that there was a program there. You remember?
Ajit Chikteri from this side. I have been given the honor to do the moderating of this program. So apart from the panelists, which Viman Gandhi would moderate, I would moderate the overall program. So the first thing first, today it's a great occasion of Engineers Day, and I don't think there is a need to explain more on Engineers Day. We uh, celebrate this Engineers Day every year on 15th September on the occasion of birth of Mr. Vishweshwaraya, who was supposed to be the first official formal engineer from this country. Uh, Not to spend more time on this, I would just read out the message. I think that message has gone. But then today is a great occasion of Engineers Day, and uh, thanks to Pune Management Association for arranging this program on a very right occasion. Yeah, just a quick 30 seconds introduction about myself. I am Ajit Chikteri. I have been associated with the process automation industry for last 26 years and earlier 14 years with the manufacturing industry. So overall, enjoying my 40 years tenure of industrial experience, and I have recently started working with Pune Management Association, and will be glad to take care of these kind of programs to for PMA. I am also an active a senior member of Information International Society of Automation, that is ISC, and I take care of membership there of ISA for Pune section. So this is my brief introduction. Another quick thing is I am pass out of COEP Pune and also IMDR for my management degree. I will just request Mr. Pradeep to talk something about brief about PME. Over to Pradeep.
Thank you, Ajit ji. Before that, about the Engineers Day. I think everybody is aware about the Engineers Day. It's celebrated all over the world. Incidentally, today is the 54th Engineers Day. So I take this opportunity to compliment all the engineers for their own work, as well as remember the great works of Sir MV. He was called as Sir MV by his compatriots. So with this brief introduction, I don't think I should talk about PMA.
Sir MV accompanied one of his friends, it seems, to see into Shimoga to see the Jog Falls. And his friend was incidentally a poet, and he was saying he was creating poetry based on how the Raja, Rani, rover and rocket were falling down, and it was such a beautiful sight, etc. That's how he saw it as a poet. And when Sir MV said, "What do you think about this?" he said, "What a waste." So that's an engineer's thought. Because he said, a lot of energy is falling down, I can generate electricity. So that's the way an engineer thinks. And salute to Sir MV for what he did for the country and for the bigger fraternity, for what we call as so many engineers today that country is producing. So hats off to him and remembrance to Sir MV.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, JK, for this nice example which you gave. And as you rightly said, I think we completely agree that the beauty and the concept is in the beholder's eyes and mind. Yeah. One quick thing. My apologies for that. It's my duty also to just quickly talk about Mr. Pradeep Tupe about his phenomenal contribution to Pune Management Association. He has been tirelessly serving a lot of roles within Pune Management Association, starting with secretary, and then this. he is also actively participating in this Aranyeshwar Shikshan Sanstha, and he is independent director of Innovative Ventures Limited and Opal Luxury Time Products. And he is also vice president of Pune City of Laghu Udyog Bharati. And today, what gathering we are seeing in Pune Management Association, I think Mr. Pradeep today is majorly responsible and has been given a contribution. Sorry, Pradeep, I did not talk about you, but it is must, it's mandatory that we should talk about you in any PMA program. So sorry for that. Quickly coming to the our today's honorable panelist, I will talk about Dr. Dilip Deshpande quickly. Good thing is he has a prefix of doctor on an engineer's day, so that's great. But of course, he has doctorate done in the engineering field, so he has double this thing, doctorate plus an good, very great amount of engineering qualifications. Yeah, so Dr. Dilip has been working experience of almost 35 years to his credit, and that speaks about his all overall, and he has been very active in multiple industries and in various senior management positions, and his majority of the experience is last few years in the international domain, and he has visited in last 33 years about 12 plus countries and have been giving his expertise to all these international clients. He has a brief major experience into the project engineering and project management. To be more precise, his field of specialization today is into quality management, which further specific, if we want to say, it's about integrity and reliability risk management and operations, and offering the solutions to very much complex business management challenges in manufacturing projects and service industry. And quality is one of the parameters which any engineering industry looks for as first, and then the subsequent acumen of the industry comes into picture. So that's one of the major thing which Dr. Dilip has been doing. He started his career with Thermax, one of the major EPCs in India, and he worked there for almost around 10 to 15 years time frame. And then subsequently, he got interested into a lot of quality aspects of the industry, and today he runs his own company called Aristotle. That total is not Aristotle, the name of the philosopher, but it is total. The last five, this thing is TOTAL, that is total quality management. It comes out of total quality management. And basically his another specialization comes from American petroleum industry, basically from the pressure inspection certifications. So that is, so he did his diploma and graduation and post-graduation, everything from Pune. He did his MTech in College of Engineering, Pune, and good part is he won the gold medal into that, and doing the kind of education after serving the industry and getting the gold medal is something phenomenal, I must say this. And subsequently, he also did his master's degree in management science in financial management. So a financial touch given to the technical quality management stuff. So he's a great combination of management knowledge duly together with the technicalities. So I welcome Dr. Dilip Deshpande.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, and one more thing, he is also director of Center of Excellence of Innovation and Emerging Technologies for Pune Management Association, and he has been offering his advices, his services to lot of Indian companies as well as, and I must add this, he does this as part of his one of the things which return to the society stuff. stuff like that. So thanks, Dilip, for taking out your time and joining this
My pleasure.
conference.
Thanks very
Yeah.
much.
Secondly, I would like to introduce Jaideep Kulkarni. Uh, he is popularly known in his friends and also the office colleagues as JK. So his full name is Jaideep Kulkarni, and I have no hesitation in saying that myself and JK, we worked together in Emerson for almost 15 years. He moved on to a leadership position to Emerson India operations, and he takes care of systems and software solutions business of Emerson Process Management. He heads the India operations, and in fact, I have no hesitation in saying this. For last 6, 7 years, I was reporting into JK, and one thing I must tell, I never felt that I am working with a boss. I always felt that I am working with my well-wisher, my mentor, my uh, thing, which I learned so many things from him. He's basically started his career from what I know about is Rockwell Automation, who is one of the another great company in the industrial automation domain. And then he moved to Emerson, and he's with Emerson for last almost 20 years now. So overall experience of about 30 plus years JK has. And apart from his technical occupant, I believe I would give more weightage to his, people's management or people's go-getter kind of individual. When his one good thing I must sell, your people will feel that this is a very small thing. Door of his cabin used to be always open, and that shows his openness of his mind. And whenever anybody wants to come, just goes to his door. If he's in a meeting, he will say that 5 minutes ke baad aa jao yaar, baat to karni hai. And if he doesn't find time, he will call that individual in the evening and ensure that whatever uh, knowledge, information, doubt he or she has, he will clear off. Another good aspect, I'm telling this couple of things about JK because we worked very closely. And this is one of the very simple thing, but at the end of the day, whether it is 7 o'clock in the evening or 8 o'clock or 9:30 in the late evening, his inbox used to be zero. And I learned this principle from him, that inbox is zero, so whatever actions are required today got finished, start a new day with fresh thought, fresh thing. So I think that's I spoke a little bit more about JK because we enjoy a different relationship between us. So thanks JK for making your time, and it is I understand it is 15th September and year-end closure for Emerson, so all the precious. So still sincere thanks, Tori. He is from his professional perspective, he is Chief Technology Officer and Head of India Operations and Business Partner at Elliott Systems Private Limited. And just to quickly tell about Elliott Systems Private Limited, Elliott Systems Private Limited is software and services and product providers for the terms which we hear very frequently nowadays, even in the last year engineering students, that is IIoT, that is Industrial Internet of Things, and digital transformation, and so on and so forth. So Girish is deep into that, and all these things are on his tip of the tongue. So he is a very good knowledgeable individual on this particular domain, and fortunately he is not fortunately, he is also has his born and brought up in Maharashtra. He started his schooling from Narayangaon, moved to Kolhapur, moved back to Pune, and he's also having about 30 plus years of experience in engineering industry. And he worked with multiple companies, basically the software providers like BMC Software, Avia, then Fujitsu, Sabal Software, Zensar Technologies. So he is a hardcore software individual, what today industry is looking at, because we always say that we used to feel proud, and we are still proud, like myself, Biman, and Jaideep Kulkarni. We are process automation people, and we supply distributed control systems and safety systems and all those things. But I believe, and we are also now, Emerson is also getting into this IoT and digital transformation stuff. But now these DCS and all those things have started becoming commodities, and what things which are the industries and the customers would look for is these digital transformations and IoT. So we have a right combination of panelists today. So welcome Girish to this webinar, and thanks a lot for sparing the time. I would, before I hand it over to Viman, I have to quickly
to Mr. Girish Khilari for a couple of minutes, because he's also serving as a chairman of IEEE Pune section, and we are doing this program in collaboration with IEEE. So Girish ji, if you can speak a little bit about IEEE, please.
Sure. Thank you, Vimanji and Ajitji, Pradeepji, for this opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity on giving on this most relevant day, Engineers Day, to represent Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE, and Iliad Systems. Of course, I'm part of Iliad Systems as well. So IEEE, an association that is dedicated to advancing innovation and technological excellence for the benefit of humanity. We all know that IEEE is known for advancing technology for humanity. It is the world's largest technical professional society, and it is designed to serve professionals involved in all aspects of, as the name suggests, electrical, electronic, and computing field, and related areas of science and technology as well that underlie modern civilization. So if we talk about IEEE, the roots go back to 1884. So when electricity began to become a major influence in society, and there was one major established electrical industry that time, the telegraph, so which since 1840s had come to connect the world with data communication system. So back in those days, 1840, data communication system, which was faster than the speed of transportation. The telephone and electric power and light industries had just gotten underway. So we can easily claim that IEEE has witnessed all the industry revolutions since then. So first industry revolution was almost in 18th century, early 18th century, that first industry revolution kicked off. So we can easily claim that IEEE has witnessed all the industry revolutions so far, from mechanization was the first one, then to electrification, then we moved to automation, then globalization was the era for some time, to digitalization, which the current Industry 4.0 is all about, and will further be leading the world to mass customization and personalization for customers. So that is about IEEE. There are more than 400,000 IEEE members across the globe, divided across 340 sections, and Pune section is one among them. There are 1200 plus industry standards. IEEE, you all know that it is known for developing, designing standards, industry standards. So 1200 plus industry standards are developed by IEEE Standards Association. And IEEE Explore, which is popular in all the enterprises industry, is the hub that contains more than 5 million, that is 50 lakhs technical articles. And there are 39 technical societies and 7 technical councils that IEEE is divided into. So one division is 340 divisions or 340 sections, The other division is 39 technical societies and 7 technical councils. And there are 1600 plus technical conferences happening every year across the globe on cutting edge technologies. Okay, so a little bit about IEEE Pune section. So it is formed almost a decade back in 2010, that IEEE Pune section formed. And current strength is more than 1500 members. Out of that, 300 plus are professional members, and rest all are from student members are almost 1100 plus. There are 19 student branches across different engineering institutes, universities, and things like that. And then there are 11 technical society chapters under in Pune section. Then there are 2 affinity groups like Women in Engineering is one, and young professionals are the second. The 2 affinity groups, and there are 2 special interest groups. As one is affordable agriculture, and the second one is healthcare. And then we are very quickly moving to the 3rd special interest group on smart cities. So that is something about IEEE Pune section. So I'm also a CTO of Iliad Systems, as sir mentioned, which is the industrial IoT platform and solution provider. And main focus areas are energy management, flow management, and machine monitoring. So I represent both the organizations. So I thought let me quickly take you through both IEEE as well as Iliad Systems. Back to you, Bimanji. Thank you.
Thank you, Girish sir, and thank you for keeping our request to be part of this program.
Right.
And thank you to be also to become the panelist.
Thank you.
Since we are almost at 8 o'clock and we need to finish this program as quickly as possible, we have about 45 minutes. So keep this time frame in mind. I have about probably more than a dozen questions. The central theme of today's discussion is going to be emerging technologies for industry. And before I start firing my questions to the panelists, I request all the participants, if they have any questions, please park your questions and type in your questions on the chat box. And right after this main panel discussion is over, we'll take them up. Before I again start firing my questions, I invite all the panelists one by one to give their opening remarks on this topic called emerging technologies for industry. Dilip ji, starting with you.
Thanks, Bimanji, and thanks, Ajit ji. Dear Pradeep ji, Prashant ji, the office bearers of PMA, the respected panelists and all the participants, very good evening to you. In first place, on the occasion of Engineers Day, I would like to congratulate all the engineers and all those who manage engineering for all that they have been doing for businesses, industry, society, and all. Much appreciated. Gratitude. See, innovation is the buzzword, and it's required everywhere throughout the life cycle. Technology is another name for innovation in engineering, and development is that's the result. Engineering presents the application aspects of science. Further, growth is the new name for survival. If one doesn't grow, perhaps he may not exist in business tomorrow. When we say new technology, it's artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, these two being on the top of the chart for last couple of years, as you know. Others in the emerging technologies, we can say cloud computing, AR, VR, blockchain, robotics and RPA, predictive analytics, surveillance and security, 5G, nanotechnology, etc. The list goes on. And there could be hybrid technologies with their combination as well. They're not new anymore, but these technologies, I believe, are still emerging. You will agree that technologies have great impact over the individuals, businesses, industries, and society in general. While I lead the Center of Excellence for Innovation and Emerging Technologies at PMA, I am honored and privileged to be with you on this panel discussion. Over to you, Bimanji.
Thank you. Girish, may I invite you to give your opening remarks, please?
Absolutely. So this is a very important topic on this day, Engineers Day. And as we see the history of industry revolution, right from 1.0, which was like machines powered by water and steam, and it was called as mechanization. Then we moved to Industry 2.0, that was around 1870, and it was all about electrification, the mass production using assembly lines, and then slowly in 1970, the new era, that is new revolution, Industry 3.0, that was on automation, electronics and computers. With the help of electronics computers, we moved to automation. 10 years since then, almost in 1980, we all witnessed that the offshoring of production to low-cost economies. That was the trend under the name globalization. So we all witnessed that in India, especially. There were a lot of projects that we executed right up to globalization. It was also called as Industry 3.5 revolution. Some of them were calling it as 3.5. In Industry 4.0, that is we all of are in, is a digitalization. As Dilip ji said, that AI, ML are on the top of the list. So Industry 4.0 is a digitalization of everything. Okay, and introduction of connected devices, then data analytics and artificial intelligence technologies to automate processes further. And then slowly we are moving towards a fifth industrial revolution or Industry 5.0, and it will be focused on the cooperation between man and machine. So as human intelligence works in harmony, we all know, with cognitive computing, by putting humans back into industrial production with collaborative robots, and then workers will be upskilled to tackle this new revolution, to provide value-added tasks in production, leading to mass customization and personalization for customers. Since technology has become inevitable in every walk of life, especially everybody prefers goods and services of his or her choice, comfort, safety, and needs. So that is where we are all moving towards. And today's topic is quite relevant to take this forward. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you. And JK, finally, your opening remarks, please.
Yeah, I think both Dr. Dilip and Girish have covered a magnum opus of what's happening on the technology front and why it's important. I will not add much, but I will just say one thing. We all know change is the only constant. Right from the steam engines, which Giriji talked about, to Industry 5.0, 4.0, whatever, everything, once upon a time, there was a time when we used to say a generation gap, right? The generation gap was measured in terms of 2 decades or a decade at least. Then it slowly came down to 5 years, a generation gap. Now it is coming to less than 2 years as well. We have seen examples of revolution like, Kodak. Kodak once upon a time was the leading with photography was Kodak, or Kodak was photography. Where is Kodak today? They did not reinvent. They did not they did not have a forward-looking path. They were perished. Cassettes gone, CDs came in. Look at the generation gap here. From your gramophone discs to cassettes, it was a long gap. But when the cassettes came in, it again survived for a good amount of time. Then CDs came in, and look at the time period, how much they survived. Hardly 3 or 5 years. The DVDs for even lesser than that. So what I'm saying is the gap between different innovations is fast evolving and is moving at a very brisk pace. And we have to keep abreast of the technologies coming in, innovate, and always be ahead of the game. Especially in industries like us, where we serve the automation industry, we should always be on the move. If you become a follower in these industries, then you are set to lose. And sometimes just because somebody X is, inventing some technology, adopt the technology and start to run along with them, it doesn't serve the purpose as well. When this Industry 4.0 is the buzzword and digitalization is the new thing coming in today, everybody says, I will digitize and he will digitize. But again, who is really having the strength, or who has really taken the first step ahead becomes very critical. So very relevant topic today from Engineers Day perspective. And also, I think we need to keep in mind, as the technology evolves and the speed at which it is evolving, we should be keeping in pace with it, else we'll be outpace ourselves in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, JK, Dilip sir, and Giriji. Thank you very much. With these great insights in your opening remarks, I'm sure today's panel discussion is going to be very, very educative in nature. I come to you, Dr. Dilip, with my first question. When we look at all the major events that are happening around us, and especially the abnormal situations such as natural calamity or most recently the pandemic, these are obviously the abnormal events, but those abnormal events bring human beings much closer to the technology. In a way, it opens the door for new technologies to emerge. In a way, it also is out of a compulsion. What are your views on technologies which are born out of compulsion versus the technology that emerges out of sheer innovation, which is your subject of passion?
Yes, Bimanji, there are examples in the history when the compulsion gave birth to certain products or applications. Say military weaponry during the World War II, space program during the Cold War, or the recent oil exploration by fracking process in the USA are few such examples from the past or the recent past. And numerous new materials and alloys were developed during this process. Various new manufacturing processes were developed as well. One may read the book Cultures of Technology and Quest for Innovation by Helga Novotny for such examples. However, recently during this COVID-19 pandemic, we can take example of Bharat Biotech, who took a different route by innovatively developing vaccine by targeting the spike proteins of the virus. Unique concept. Take oxygen generation, take oxygen supply through the LPG cylinders, oxygen generation through the adsorption route. So many innovative things happened at that time, and they are still happening. Work from home, remote working, Zoom, Google Meet, Teams. In normal course, do you think this would have happened? Probably no. And coming back to innovation, it's always happening around us. I believe that the process of innovation is permanent. It's continuous. However, to transform that technology or that particular product, you may need someone else, either as an application-oriented person, we call him an engineer, or say business-minded person. Or you need a compulsive situation, such as a calamity or a pandemic like COVID-19, that demands a new utility or improved utility out of that innovation with some changes or improvements. Say Samuel Morse had invented telegraph in 1830s, 40s. And it took almost 40 years. After 40 years, Edison encashed upon that in 1870s by building a telegraph receiver to develop automatic telegraph. Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. It's displayed at COEP on the library wall. Most of the current technologies are result of creativity and innovation. However, the specific application can be the response to a given situation. Initially, the idea behind drones was imagination, and then followed by innovation. Today, we see that drones are used in, say, Armenia-Azerbaijan war for firing rockets, for dropping the military supplies in Syria war, for photography, for videography, for light goods transportation, also in the events for decoration, as we saw during recent Olympics in Tokyo. Therefore, it's, in my opinion, it is innovation first and the application later in most of the cases. Really? And let me add, the threat from competition is a new compulsion. It's a new dimension, and Tesla is a good example for that. Recently, I read about the gigapress that Tesla developed, the new aluminum alloys that Tesla developed. Now, this would not happen during the normal time. This is coming, in my opinion, sheerly out of the threat or the compulsion of the competition as well. So in a nutshell, Bimanji, I would say that imagination, creativity, and innovation, it is integral to the new technologies. However, the compulsion of various kinds, whether it is a calamity, whether it is a pandemic, whether it is war, whether it is any unprecedented thing like that, that would and it does act as an initiator or as a driving force. Yes, Bimanji, back to you.
Yeah, thank you for your detailed answer. Yeah. Sometimes technology, obviously proves to be boon or blessings to human life. And at the same time, when we start adopting the technology, we increase our dependency on the technology. And too much dependency on anything is naturally not very, very good. One of the recent example is ongoing crisis about semiconductor issue. It has really, caused a lot of pain to a lot of industry, not just the industries which are using semiconductors, but there is a chain of sequence which is happening. Girishji, what would be your advice to industries to safeguard themselves from such kind of dependencies?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Bimanji. So we all know that our other panelists also mentioned that in today's this online and digitalization world, it is very difficult to separate technology from any domain or industry. Okay, it is just not possible. Obviously, one has to strike the balance. Okay, so we all know the excessive use of technological equipment and inventions has created different sorts of pollution. Okay, so if you look around, air, water, so many natural resources are at the risk and are being depleted to produce and prepare technological equipment. It is an unalterable threat to environment. We all know. In the whole, technology is a blessing in disguise. So it offers ease and comfort on one hand and makes life more comfortable. It is more addictive too. Okay, so we all know how addictive we are with the smartphones and with gadgets and stuff at times. And then the use of machines and devices has made our life more convenient and easy. On the other hand, it has made us suffer too. Okay, so the advice to industries, my advice would be to choosing the correct technology is at the in the front, that choosing the correct technology, then ensuring smooth integration, okay, with that technology, and safe data platform, which is another very important thing, because the data that is getting generated is enormous, and then to manage that data and to safeguard that data is something that we need a great platform or bigger platform to safeguard that data. Can all be achieved with a little knowledge. So industrialists around us, or the one who are working in small and medium or micro, mini kind of industries, they little knowledge and know-how is very, very important. Gaining adequate knowledge in choosing the right technology, adopting best practices to achieve carbon neutrality, which is, as I mentioned, there is a threat on pollution largely, and then tackling global warming issues, etc., are some of the keys. Actually. Back to you, Bimal. So according to me, these are some of the important things to look at. Yeah. Back to you, Bimal. Thank you.
Biman, I think you are mute. You're not able to hear.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. To complete my first round of questions, JK, I will come to you with one of my favorite questions, and you and I, as automation engineers, probably has faced it so many times. It is said that sometimes technology play a role of villain. For example, a machine, a robot, or automation. Too much automation actually replaces work opportunity of human beings. How do you see that after 30 years of experience in this field?
Yeah, I think this is a question which used to come earlier as well, and it will continue to come specifically in countries like India. I think Girishji also talked about the different stages of how industrial revolution took place, and even talked about globalization. The term used was globalization. When this particular globalization did happen, I think we are witness to that, because we're part of the whole transition that was happening. People in the United States believe that our jobs are going to go away. They're going to go to India now, right? Now, did that really happen? If I go back and turn back myself and go back into a time machine and see what the fears people were having 21 years ago to what it is today, none of the people lost their jobs. On the contrary, we became more productive, we became more affordable. Right? I don't think, it's a perception which existed, Biman, earlier, but that perception is more or less going away. It's automation, by doing automation, that people are going to lose jobs. I think it's a misnomer. I think what's going to happen is people will have more time to do more productive things instead of doing the mundane activities which they used to do before. If you look back today, I think if I look at 1990s, automation from an industrial automation perspective, from my industry which I come from, it was very limited. It was 15 to 20% probably. Today, every small industry, because I'm looking at that some $1 million, not going into billions, but automation is an indefatigable part of their equation. It's not that I will start the plant manually, generate profit, and automation is no longer a need to have. It is a must have now, right? So, but that doesn't deplete the workforce. I would rather say it will increase their productivity and usage of those individuals into more productive, more important roles which have been neglected. That's how I would put it. I don't think it will impact. Specifically, we think about it more because of the whole magnum opus of number of people that this country has. But I don't think it's a necessary thing, because if you don't have that automation aspect in the whole equation, neither the goods will be affordable, nor it will have the time to reach to the market. So it's a complete cycle, right? So if you have more goods, you'll have more salesmen, you'll have more customers. So it's either ways. I don't think it's a major threat, and these questions have stopped coming, which used to come 15 years ago.
Okay. I tend to completely agree with you, JK, certainly, because right from the days of invention of wheel to whatever technology that we are using, and compared to the population that the planet had and now what we have, I think the percentage unemployment has not really soared too high. And that actually is also an evidence that, it's not technology which is eating away the job, rather it is actually creating the jobs. So thanks for that summary, JK.
Yeah, mobile phones, how many jobs it has created?
Yeah.
It has created.
Yeah. And it will continue to create with all new things coming in place. Panelists, let's now focus our attention to the topic of the day, which is emerging technologies. Dilipji, which are top 3 or 5 emerging technologies you would advise to the industries to adopt? And if not immediately, at least they should start looking at them to stay ahead of the curve.
Well, frankly speaking, the industries will not wait for you or me to advise. They are already on it. However, if we have to talk about it, I will say that the industries look for safe and efficient operations, minimum waste, higher profits, and so on. And the priorities for different industries might be different. So when we are thinking of advising them of something, we need to be very careful. However, if we have to talk about the emerging technologies, I would say that artificial intelligence or AI has been very popular, efficient, and effective technology for past many years, and it still remains. And AI as a superset has its strings attached to many other emerging technologies as well. We can talk about predictive sales load scoring, CRM, service delivery, optimization, or chatbots, digital assistants, cybersecurity threat detection, or marketing automation when we talk about the AI, where it can find application in the industry. Second technology I would say is the Internet of Things, or the IoT. It uses the smart or telematic sensors and softwares in short. And we see that application in asset tracking, industrial monitoring, smart badges for secure assets, fleet management, smart buildings, and so on. Another thing which Girish ji spoke about and also JK sir talked about was the robotics. Robotics and robotic process automation can be very, very important for any manufacturing or processing industry, as it decreases dependence upon the manpower or the labor, while at the same time, it also improves the consistency and quality. And let me say that cybersecurity has been another critical area. And it's crucial for individuals, businesses, industries, banks, and even governments to secure the data, operations and controls. Security by design, defense in depth, zero trust are some key components for that. And remote working has to be coupled with access control and digital security. No business can survive intrusion into their database, hijack of their digital system, or theft of their crucial process data or intellectual property will not only jeopardize their business, but that may probably push them out of business. I can highlight many more such technologies. If we have a telecommunication company, then we can talk about 5G or 6G and so many things. They are all relevant and important for that particular type of industry. But we have the time constraints, so I'll not get into that. Today, it has become inevitable that industries apply new technologies, not only in the product or service design, but also in the materials, in manufacturing, in logistics, administration, communication, R&D, and so on. And let me tell you that there is no choice. Application of new technologies it's essential. It's essential for remaining competitive and also for the survival of the businesses. Bimanji.
Yeah, thank you. Dilipji, in your crisp answer, you listed limited, but still a lot of technologies, and adoption of this technology coming back to industry, is also a kind of a major change. And any successful implementation of change starts with a lot of planning. Girishji, what steps industry should take when they are prepared to adopt a new technology in their respective industry?
Sure. Yeah, I guess for industry, it is a big task ahead of them. That is, according to me, the steps would be like helping their employees understand how the new technology, will come their lives easier. So helping employees understanding this particular aspect. Then the next thing that employers must do is like acknowledging employees as they make the transition. It is very difficult. It is not that easy from manual stuff to digitalization. So it is like acknowledging their efforts is something that employers must should not lose opportunity. Then recognizing early wins in the process is also something that they must do. Then providing plenty of training with a variety of options to help employees learn. That is very, very important, because it is like a kind of a stress kind of stuff to employees to get into new area altogether. So providing them plenty of trainings, understanding, extending their understanding towards their training needs with a variety of options is something that is essential. Then after training, then comes transitioning the new technology that they learned into the normal work processes of the employees. So that is very, very important. And the last but not least, the advancing technology in workplace is necessary for this day and age, as we all know. Getting the right steps in place will ensure workforce is prepared to adopt this new technology solution. So these are some of the steps I think that are critical and important for employers to follow, or organizations to take their employees through. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Girishji. I would like to take the same question and the response that you gave a little further. This time I'll come to you, JK. Industries, when they start adopting the technologies, sometimes maybe it is out of herd mentality because a lot of other industries or competition is implementing it. Sometimes it is out of compulsion, and they end up spending huge amount of resources. But many times they fail to fully exploit it or take the full advantage of the investment that they have done. And there are so many examples that it turns out to be waste of efforts, and it turns into a dead asset. What would be your advice to those kind of organizations?
I think you have touched a very, very valid point. And my answer has to be a bit diplomatic as well, because I'm on the sales side. I also sell a lot of these things to people, whether they like it or not. So, if I really look at least the way I look into my industry space, when this whole talk about IIoT, digitalization, these are jargons when it came in, right? Everybody was talking about, I want to do digitalization. So what exactly you want to do? Nobody was clear. So first I'll address the herd mentality part of it. The herd mentality part, Biman, was there, I would say, in the 90s, the late 80s and 90s. Yes, some plants are doing automation, PLCs or DCS. I also want to do it. That kind of a mentality was there. I think I will specifically talk about India. Now it has come a long way. It's no longer that herd mentality as far as the automation part is concerned. People are much more intelligent than what we think they were, right? Or they are today. So that part is more or less moving. It's no longer the herd mentality. But what's happening is the lack of knowledge of certain things. When you talk about digitalization, people allocate, the top management allocates a certain fund to digitalization and they want to use that. They don't know what exactly they want to do. The problem is, unless you know what you want to do, you will end up going into circles. Both the vendor like us, we go into circles because we don't know what the customer wants. The customer doesn't himself know what he wants. So we both go on talking about things, and ultimately that's what comes in because you don't have a result. So unless you have a specific use case against which you want to do, it becomes irrelevant. Now, coming to digitalization itself, let me also tell, when this whole digital transformation journey started, I think the last 2-3 years, what I've seen is, I was thinking the private industries would come forth more, right? The private industries in India, but surprisingly, I saw a lot of government investments coming in.
Yeah.
Like the IOCLs of the world, the FPCLs of the world. When I read through the specifications, I sometimes myself get astonished the depth they have gone into each of those. And I think that's a good part from the government side, that they're triggering that digital transformation aspect of it into the Indian market. That is number one. Now, when I look at it, yes, they've asked the moon in it. When you really go to implement it, you require certain sensors, the basic sensors required to capture the data, which is the new oil. The sensors are missing, but the information is required. So you can't achieve that. So that's where it goes into a limbo, wherein what you want to do has to be clear, what you want to achieve, the KPIs have to be clear, and then the journey, how you want to take it, has to be clear. I would say digital transformation is a great boon, but you have to walk in steps. Don't try to eat the entire morsel in one go. Take it bite by bite, then you will see success.
Okay. So, JK, I'll get back to you. I'll come back to you again, with my next question. Both you and Girishji, very well articulated how the preparation should be or what the thought process should be. But once it is implemented, and when it comes to really measure the performance after implementation, how would you go about it?
Okay. We are a measurement company, right? If I don't measure, then the company doesn't exist. So we are a measurement company. So measurement is very critical for any aspect of life. When you implement certain things, the measure, that's why I even talked about earlier as a KPIs. The KPIs have to be very clearly defined what I want to achieve. So specifically, when you implement new technologies, it has to either result in productivity, it has to result in quality, right? Or it is the ease of operation. Some of these three basic aspects has to be adhered to. One of these has to be achieved. Now, if I'm increasing the productivity from, say, I used to make 180 tons per day as a cement today, was I able to go to 200 tons per day? That's a KPI that you can achieve, you can measure. That is one part as far as the productivity is concerned. Second is the quality part of it. I think we also talked about quality aspects of it. Whether my measurement of quality before the end product comes in at different stages, I can measure how it is. Third is the ease of operation for employees. Like we also talked about, Girishji also talked about predictive maintenance coming in. Whether my motor is going to fail 10 days down the line or 10 months down the line, if I know it earlier. It was breakdown maintenance, shutdown maintenance, or preventive maintenance. Now the predictive maintenance has been coming in, but it is becoming more evident nowadays. So whether I'm able to save the life of my asset for a longer time, it results into productivity, and the shutdown is pushed forward. So there are KPIs very clearly defined. These has to be defined clearly before you get into implementing this. Then you can definitely measure that, and you can say, yes, you achieved something, because these are intangible benefits.
True. Very true. Yeah. Okay. I'll take a 15-second pause to thank the participants, because this is the first program where I am saying even after 5 minutes past our scheduled time, people are still hanging on to it. So thank you, panelists, for making it.
Because I think most of them are engineers, and today's Engineers Day.
Yeah. Of course, and the numbers are actually increasing, so that's a happy sign. And Dilipji, because you are from PMA, I'm keeping you on the bay. Let me go to Girishji once again. Girishji, how would you prepare an organization for early and swift adoption of any emerging technology?
Sure. So, as Dilipji and Jaitarji already mentioned some of the critical areas. So, according to me, main drivers are like increasing customer centricity, which is very, very important. Then maybe fostering innovation, a more productive workforce, and then environmental sustainability. We discussed about that in environmental hazards and then pollutions and things like that. So environmental sustainability is, of course, very critical driver. And then, of course, maintaining a competitive advantage, okay, are some of the drivers, according to me, to fuel the growth for any organization. So we need to building the technology-enabled manufacturing ecosystem, and resilient end-to-end supply chains will be the key. Okay, so supply chain is again very, very critical in the journey. There is no one size fits all approach for the adoption of these technologies. So there are companies like, as I mentioned, micro, mini, then small, medium. So there is no one size fits all. So first takeaway is that digital is no longer optional. So if somebody is in the world that I can manage without digital technologies, so that is like something very, very dangerous. The second one is like digital transformation is possible regardless of a business's size. Okay, irrespective of business size, digital transformation is possible. And some old traditional setups, as I know, because I'm in the IIoT field for last 3 years, and I'm interacting customers day in, day out. I know some of the old traditional setups are also able to deploy multiple fourth industrial revolution technologies, such as predictive analytics in production and dynamic logistics planning to reduce the cost of serving their customers by around 20%. So the 20% saving we could easily see applying these fourth industry revolution practices. So particularly during the pandemic, we see that achieving fourth industrial revolution at scale is central to the long-term sustainable growth for a company. But the majority of the organizations, what we have witnessed, have yet to achieve this virtual cycle. And what is interesting is that the number of companies, okay, so that report being stuck in what we call the pilot trap, okay, has gone up again, which is very alarming, has gone up again in 2021 to 74%. Okay, so they are in that trap, they are completely into that pilot trap. And that is following a decline from 70% in 2017 to 56% in 2020. Okay, so clearly there is an impact of the pandemic on how companies are able to scale these technology-enabled transformations. Okay, and to drive meaningful value and bottom line impact, it is of course critical that companies take a holistic approach. Okay, and that this approach includes a balance between business impact, technology transformation, as I just explained, and also intervention in human capital, that is human resources. Okay, very, very important. Then leaders are always keep their eyes on impact. Okay, so that is obvious, and this is really number one. But at the same time, it is very important that they don't underestimate the massive reskilling that is needed for the whole organization. Okay, so stepping into digitalization, the massive reskilling is very, very critical. And that they also focus on redesign of the technology architecture. What they currently following, they must think about redesigning that technology architecture and the ecosystem in which they work. Okay, so the future of manufacturing is already here. Organizations in India move faster and they scale more on the adoption of fourth industrial revolution technology, and they are already reaping the benefit. Okay, so we encourage the followers and laggards in this space to learn from the leaders and to act quickly to keep up with those leaders to avoid being left behind. Okay, so my company, as I mentioned, Iliad Systems, enables organizations on their Industry 4.0 journey in every aspect I mentioned here. So I'm happy to help if somebody wants to walk the journey. Okay. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that offer. Dilip ji, I will now come back to you. When you move around in the market, representing your own business, that is Aristotle Business Solutions Private Limited, and when you interact with industry leaders, do you find a proper thought process or a forward-looking approach about emerging technologies in their company's vision first, and of course in their strategies and actions?
Of course, very much so. In fact, as you said, rightly said, I get an opportunity to interact with the industry, either through PMA or the Pune Business School that I'm associated with. Also with so many engineers as the alumni of GPP or Kusarwadia or COEP, or as the member of IIM or Institution of Engineers. I have seen the industry from within and also as a consultant in the recent years. Firstly, I have very high regards for the industry owners, as they are the ones who face all the challenges and eat all the time, whether it is pandemic or even without that. And most of them, they acknowledge that technology holds the key for their business growth as well as the survival. They do have that thought process as well as the forward thinking, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they are the business owners. And I respect that. We need to respect that. Satya Nadella from Microsoft and Ryan from LinkedIn, they were there on WorkLab Live last week. And they also spoke about the new era of hybrid work and the mindset of the organizations and the individuals that has developed in response to the technological changes and current situation after the pandemic. And that was very interesting. You see, for larger organization, the scale of their organization or the scale of their business volumes allows them to get organized and optimize the efforts on various fronts. However, when it comes to the micros or SMEs, especially they are at disadvantage in comparison. An individual owner, as a single person or maybe the partner group, they may not get enough time to get into all this, frankly speaking. Having the understanding of knowledge or options or possibilities and actually getting to implement what is needed are two different things. And the catch is there. Therefore, I believe that it's also the responsibilities of the professional bodies such as Pune Management Association, CII, MCCIA, or the other institutions to ensure that we do the handholding to these companies, whether small or big, in presenting them with the possibilities with the new or emerging technologies. Because what to do with the technology is another question. Also in shaping their strategies and to provide the resources that they would be requiring, maybe through the resource centers, which would be common for a particular set of industries. By doing this, they would be in position to take various missions for achieving their objectives without huge investment of money and time that perhaps otherwise they can't afford. So I believe the solution would be lying there.
Okay, thank you, Dilipji. Girishji, it's always enticing for humans to look into the future. Of course, I'm not talking about astrology because today's topic is technology. Riding on the wave of technology, where do you see our world and industries in the next 10 years?
Sure. So, as our fellow panelists already mentioned, that the digitalization of everything and then Internet of Things, we talked about it, then advanced robotics, then artificial intelligence, then machine learning, blockchain definitely, and developments such as advanced materials and next generation genomics are among the technologies. Okay, so that are changing the basis on which industries compete and interact. So these are some of the technologies that are leading the world's today, what we could witness. And they are already shaking up the foundations of many industries. So advanced technologies will become integral to the license to operate and change the cost economics of various sectors. The possibilities opened up by automation, sensors, and connectivity provide immense potential, okay, to boost the efficiency and reduce the cost base, what we can say. And then energy efficiency. My company is also working in energy management. So energy efficiency, for example, has become a core strategic issue, okay, for companies in nearly every sector. And with technology and data advancement providing opportunities for more active management and indeed self-production. Okay, so widely speaking, and wider energy transformation like decarbonization and recarbonization are reaching across all sectors. Okay, so companies really will need to embrace technological advancements or they will have to risk disappearing. If they don't embrace the technological advancement, sooner or later they will disappear. Okay, so but in some industries, the revolution will go even further. It won't just be the foundations of industry shaking, but the walls will be coming down as the boundaries between suppliers that we deal with, then the producers and consumers. And not only that, in some cases, between the whole industries shift. Okay, so we are already seeing this happening and we foresee that it has much further to run, okay, with all this. And across all sectors, we believe we are at a historical inflection point, where companies and sectors will either develop to be advanced industries of the future, some of them with different focal points from the industries of today, or decline to become uncompetitive and obsolete. As JK sir also mentioned that the generation gap is reducing now from decades to 50 to 10 to now it is even 2 years. So that is why I think everybody needs to hurry up and move on. Otherwise, they will lose.
The laggard.
Absolute. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bimanji.
Yeah. JK, you talked about, some of the government sectors in one of your responses. You named the companies also, but your company is also serving, many other sectors, almost all sectors through your products and services. Which sectors, in your opinion, are taking the maximum advantage of emerging technologies?
Now, I think Dilip ji also said in his initial pitch, I would say, one is technology which is being created out of compulsion, one which is forward-looking. So there are multiple aspects, right? I will talk about certain things which is a combination of both. It's a compulsion as well, and a I would say in Hindi a tadka of technology, techno-savvy, whatever you call it. Now, the way I'm saying it is, pharma industry is one which is adopting it very fast because of number one compulsion, the FDA audits which they have to pass through, else the drug will not be able to sell in the market, and every year that FDA audits happen. And Indians, being Indians, that I'm also a proud Indian, wo chalta hai attitude that we have, whether you record something or instead of 25, write 26, it doesn't matter, kind of thing. These very simple things where manual intervention or the attitude that we also have, manual recording of things, that is kind of hitting them very hard as far as the FDA audits are concerned. So what I'm seeing predominantly, again, the expectations are different. When the expectations are not defined properly, we get into that and it looks like a long tunnel. It doesn't come out, it becomes a cave. But if the definition is clear, then it becomes a tunnel, you come out. So right now, that's where I think is the maximum thing happening as far as my industry space is concerned. The second biggest thing which is happening, when we talked about the government companies as well, right, is like data gathering or data lakes. I call it as data lakes, where if I take, for Navaratnas, where they have got different depots or different terminals, etc., data is scattered all across. How they can consolidate data at one particular place, and how then they can take decision making better, which one to start, which one to stop, etc. That kind of era is coming in, wherein they want to connect all those innumerable terminals across the country and then capture the data coming in. So I would rate pharma industry as number one at this moment in time, where they're clear what they want to a large extent. And then the big giants, where they want to capture the data in one particular place. It is slowly spreading. I will not say that digitalization, as what I'm talking about, 4.0 has taken a huge swing when I talk about upside. But again, Girishji also said, every small tidbits are also important as part of the digital transformation. Those things are happening. I'm talking about a bigger level. So that's how I see it. And third thing is, the expectations are changing. Data is the new oil. What the maintenance guy wants is different to what the process guy wants is different to what the management wants is different. And now it's no longer that my control system operates in the shop. Management guys, you look at the Excel sheets and the SAPs, etc. That's not going to happen. It's all the way now from shop floor to top floor. So that's what is happening. The connectivity is becoming more seamless right from the plant floor, all the data moving up to the top floor, wherein the data dashboards for the management is different, for the process guys is different, for the maintenance guys is different. We talked about personalization, I think Girishji talked about it, a personal dependent messaging kind of thing. So that's coming in. That's coming in. But the newer plants, they can adopt it faster than the older plants because the technology is not there at the bottom. The base is not there. I can build castles, but castles cannot be built in here. The foundation has to be made stronger, then those castles can be built better. Otherwise, you'll end up in that situation. I've invested, but I'm not getting any output because you can't, because your foundation is not there.
Okay. Just for the sake of time and to be fair with the audience who have been, hanging on till, even it is 8:50 p.m. I'll come back to you, all three of you, with my last question. We have talked about, the industries are lagging behind. In India, we always say that we are always behind the curve compared to the developed world. So on one hand, of course, there is a lot of catching up to do as far as industries are concerned. But I think, there are also certain things that need to change in government policies, and, maybe some legislation changes are also required. So this question is open to all three of you, but starting with you, Dr. Dilip, and then maybe with Dr. Khilari, and finally with you, JK, the same question.
Bimanji, I guess it's a little complicated, because when we talk about SME sector and adoption of the new technologies, it's definitely a bit complex.
Yeah.
As I said, the SME sector has various limitations.
Yeah.
And the roadmap for different sectors could be different depending upon the product mix or the stage of the business or the life cycle. However, there could be still some prescription items. One such area could be to understand the product lifespan and the life cycle. SMEs should have the product mix that will keep them in business in the changing world, either with the same set of customers, with new range of better products, or new customers with the same product. Secondly, the SMEs should analyze their customer requirements, and as JK sir had said, that their changing needs, the changing needs of the customers. So the partnering with customers for their new projects can help a lot in securing the account in long term as well. They have to be aware of competitive technologies that exist, which may leave their product as redundant, or should try to either acquire that technology or look for better smart technology to overcome that if the competition acquires that. And allow me to quote a recent article from World Economic Forum.
Mm-hmm.
It warns that we are already into skills emergency. Because of the technological changes and Industry 4.0, the jobs are getting transformed, rather they have already got transformed, and we need to reskill as many as 1 billion people by year 2030.
Reskilling, yeah.
Reskilling. And most of that, major part of that has to come within next 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And that could create, and that would create shortage of skilled manpower. And I'm afraid that the SMEs may suffer the most because of this particular thing. The SME owner may not always be capable or free to understand or to implement the new technologies by himself.
True.
Therefore, engaging a good business consultant with knowledge of ETs can be one of the options. Let me tell you, Institution of Engineers also celebrated Engineers Day today. And Mr. Sharma from TCE was there. And he also spoke about skill development and reskilling. Because the theme, even for the Engineers Day celebration of Institution of Engineers, was engineers for skill development and employment in combating COVID, of course, but the focus was on skill development and employment.
Yep.
And that's what the importance of skills and skillful manpower is. Therefore, in my opinion, reskilling is one very important aspect. Further, to acquire and retain the skilled manpower at all levels in your organization is also important. It's not only technology, it's not only the technology that's going to work. It is also the skilled manpower who is going to use and implement that technology for your company. That the SME sector should actually go for.
True.
Bimanji.
Right. Thank you. Girishji, your views?
So yeah, taking what Dilipji just mentioned forward, the first observation what I saw is that SMEs are typically seen as unorganized, okay, as Dilipji also mentioned, or disorganized businesses by technology vendors. And so business applications are architectured to organize the business primarily. So, but by going a little deeper, we will realize that most businesses are actually adaptive because of circumstance, okay, and they are under the pressure of the way of working of their customers and suppliers. That is the big problem of SMEs. There is always a constant pressure from their customers and suppliers. By building technology to organize the business, many products and solutions ignore this reality, and this soon renders the solution unusable. So even though how much hard they work or try to achieve, solution becomes unusable. The second observation, what I saw is that is the realization that while SMEs remain small, their buying behavior mimics the large enterprises.
True.
Okay, and then especially when it comes to technology. Okay, so that is my observation. This means that to a large extent, SMEs will still expect sales and service of technology products at their offices or establishments, and requiring an innovative sales and distribution strategy. okay, and appropriate business model supporting the same. But this digital distribution and digital servicing has been on the rise and still, however, remains at a nascent stage for this sector. So overall, my take is like SMEs remain more enthusiastic about technology adoption than ever. And by keeping what I just said in mind, technology providers can be key players in helping SMEs become more efficient and grow faster. The organizations that I represent, both IEEE and Iliad Systems, have plenty of resources to help SMEs on their way to digitalization. So very quick 30 seconds I will take, not more than that. So there is a new technology connections in your resource to emerging technologies within IEEE. Okay, the IEEE Future Directions Committee has identified the emerging technologies. And for each initiative, you will find a wealth of knowledge, resource, and opportunities to participate. And one can join IEEE Future Direction technical communities to ensure that they receive latest news on upcoming events, educational offerings, publications, standards, then volunteer opportunities, and products and services for keeping at the forefront of research development and planning. So, so you do not have to be an IEEE member. That is the beauty of it. So even if you are not IEEE member, you can still participate of one or more of these communities, receive a complimentary subscription to IEEE Future Direction newsletter. So if you become part of one of the communities, and there are few communities, that Future Direction communities, that I would like to mention here, and people can take advantage and leverage the communities which are global. Some of them are like big data, then blockchain communities there, IEEE Brain community, then cloud computing, cyber security communities also available, digital reality, then future networks that enables 5G and beyond, Internet of Things, of course, there is a community there, life sciences, quantum, rebooting computing, then smart cities and smart grid are two different communities, software defined networks, then sustainable ICT, transportation, electrification, and community are some of the, and then list goes on. So these are some of the Future Direction communities, and one need not be IEEE member to be part of those. So you will get wealth of information. So that is something that I really would like to appeal SMEs and to other organizations and to individuals to take advantage.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Giriji. Finally, to you, JK.
So, Biban, in the industry space that I work with, I can speak from that perspective, from what SMEs we encompass. I can't tell much deeper into the details which Dilipji and Giriji did talk about. I may not be able to go to that levels, but I also feel, SMEs are very much important for our entire economy. Yeah. It is very important to have the resurgent India to be there. Yes, the bigger industries, like suppose as an example, if I take my own case, our industry or allied industries, similar industries, which we depend a lot on SMEs for our day-to-day functioning and our deliverance as a whole. And we need to handhold the SMEs in the technology aspect of it, of how they can improve and what they can invest on. It's not that technology they can go on investing. It's just not possible from an SME perspective. We need to clearly define and how we can support them so that their increased productivity is in turn going to help the bigger companies which depend on these SMEs. That's the way I look at it. I'm looking from my own perspective how we deal with SMEs. One thing is there are certain government rules where MSME rules are there and all those aspects are there. How many companies really follow that? As an example, an MSME has to be paid within 45 days of his invoice. A simple thing. How many companies do follow that? So as bigger organizations, I think we have to adopt to these things to support the SMEs in turn, so that you as a bigger organization become successful. That's how I look at it, and we should handle them, and we are doing it with the SMEs which we associate with.
I think this panel discussion was one part of that that hand holding. In a way, we are trying to help community, the industries. I'm sure there are a lot of people representing industries here would have benefited from answers from all of you panelists. So Dr. Dilip Deshpande, Girish Khilari, and JK, my friend. Thank you so much for your time and giving all the answers. I'll give it back to Ajit Chipteri.
1 second, if I can speak before
Sure.
you turn it on. I think I thank you very much for inviting me as part of this. Generally we guys are into the industry selling, executing, or solving problems are in different world. And for me, it was a great break.
Our pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Just want to let the members or other people who have joined the further programs which are coming up in September. So the first one is coming up tomorrow. It's manufacturing of the program is artificial intelligence in preventive maintenance, which is coming up on 28th of September at 7:30. And